Mr. Moll, do you remember the other day when you were talking to us about using awards that books had won as a way of deciding whether they were good for us to read or not?
Of course, PJ. Why do you ask?
Well, I took your advice and decided to read a book that had won the John Newbery Award. You remember that award?
Of course, PJ. It's only the most famous of all awards given out to books written for young people. Named for John Newbery, the father of children's literature, the award was created in 1922 to honor the author of a book that has made the most distinguished contributions to American literature for children in a given year. Newbery was born on the 9th of July in 1713. He grew up on a small farm in England but decided early on that the life of a small farmer wasn't for him. At the age of 16, he was apprenticed to a printer, and the rest, as they say, is history. He would eventually go into the publishing world, with books like The Whole Duty of Man and miscellaneous works, serious and humorous in verse and prose.
I haven't read them.
But it was his publication of a little pretty pocketbook that began to cement his name as a great children's literature publisher. It cost 6 pence, but if you paid an extra 2 pence, it would come with a black and red pincushion that the reader could use to keep track of their behavior. If you were good, you got to stick the pen in the red side, but if you were bad, you had to stick the pen in the black side.
Sounds like a really fun activity.
Yes, well, you have to remember that social media hadn't been invented yet, so there was nowhere for a person to go to be publicly shamed. They had to do it to themselves.
So that's the story of John Newbery, father of children's literature and the inspiration for the John Newbery Medal, huh?
Pretty much. There's some stuff in there about how he sold cure-alls to gullible sick people, but that's not really relevant to the theme of children's literature.
Well, it explains a lot. You see, the book I chose to read based on your suggestion was called The Story of Mankind by Hendrik van Loon. As near as I can tell, it tells the story of European history from ancient times up to the present, is over 500 pages long, and yet somehow completely ignores the fact that the Americas existed and mankind also lived here. I can't be 100% sure, though, because most of the time I was reading it I was thinking about video games.
I see. Well, PJ, to be fair, the Newbery Award Committee has chosen some stinkers over the years. A lot of the books on the list, especially from the first half of the 20th century, are either overtly or covertly racist, and many of them can be challenging to read. I've read 58 of the 103 winners along with about 100 of the honor books, and The Story of Mankind is probably my least favorite. I should have warned you.
It's okay, Mr. Moll. At least now I know how the Norse immigrated to England. In case it ever comes up in polite conversation, I'll be ready.
Just don't try to force it into a conversation, PJ. Nobody likes that.
So is what you were saying about choosing books based on awards just a lot of bunk?
Not at all, PJ. But whether a book has won an award is just one thing to think about. Other things to consider include how old the book is, what the topic is, if you've liked other books by the same author or that have won the same award, and so on. You know, that reminds me of an award that you might not have heard of before. Do you know about the Oregon Reader's Choice Award?
The ORCA? No, I've never heard of it.
Well, aren't you in for a treat? The ORCA, or Oregon Reader's Choice Award, is given out every year to a book that was published 2 years prior. The award is given by the Oregon Library Association, but anyone who lives in the state can nominate a book to be considered for the award. Of the hundreds of books that are nominated each year, a small committee of teachers and librarians decide on a short list of fewer than 10 books to be placed on the ballot for the award. At that point, readers all over Oregon, just like you, read the books in contention and vote for the one that they like the best. Any Oregon students in grades 3 to 12 can vote for their favorite, which is why the award is called the Oregon Reader's Choice Award.
So that means that the book that wins the award has already been tested by kids, just like me, and found to be worth reading?
That's right. Of course, in order to be eligible to vote, the reader has to have read at least 2 of the nominated books.
Well, that just makes sense.
So there you have it. Now you have a new award to keep an eye out for when you're trying to find a good book to read.
How do I tell which books have won the award?
Well, the book should have an ORCA medal on it.
What does that look like?
Like that. What is happening to my library?